In this video cast, Andrew Yeomans from the Jericho Forum will be giving us some highlights from his keynote talk on the data integrity attacks, the silent killer. So Andrew, tell us a little bit about what happened in your seminar.
Well, it was a very interesting session. We had a number of experts, but talking about the issues of data integrity attacks, where people are deliberately attacking the integrity of data and using that for their own advantage. I think one of the scariest parts about the whole session was the survey which had been taken out a few weeks before, which was basically came up with the result that we asked the question, some commentators have identified data integrity to be the next big problem. How confident are you about the integrity and accuracy of your critical business data? The scary thing was that 64% of the people replying to the survey said that they were very unconfident about the integrity and accuracy of the data. Only 4% were very confident, and that says a lot. If the fundamental business data we've got, people don't know that it's actually right.
But that is quite interesting, because that backs up the Roundtree report, I think it was, where they had a look at a lot of government databases and found that only a very small minority was actually compliant and had information that wasn't corrupt in some way.
Yeah. Now some of that is understandable if you see where people are getting the data from. They're collecting information from individuals. People type errors at times. Sometimes the amount of data being asked for by a company is actually, in the eyes of the respondent, is actually excessive. So if you just want to download a copy of a white paper, you don't really necessarily want to give your name, address, phone number, date of birth, and all that sort of information. So it's not surprising that there's a lot of erroneous information collected at first. Now that isn't particularly malicious, but conversely, as soon as it comes to critical business data, not only do you get that level of errors, but there is still the risk that people may be actually actively modifying that data, and we don't have, as an industry, very good ways of detecting whether that data has been modified in general.
But doesn't that make it difficult to identify what data should be protected and what data shouldn't be protected in terms of integrity? If you haven't got the quality data in the first place, you've got no baseline to start from.
Yeah, it certainly is a very, very big challenge. Identifying what types of data there are and what is actually critical to the organisation is still a large challenge to many companies. Some parts are very easy to identify, but then there's the pieces of data which has a knock-on effect if it was incorrect. And by and large, we don't have very good methods of linking all the pieces of data together when something is used in one application and then passed on to another application. It might be quite clear that my bank account details is quite sensitive to me, and when you use that, but maybe my name and address isn't seen to be that sensitive. After all, it's in the telephone book. But if I could, if a criminal could alter my name and address, alter that cheque which is due to be sent to me to another address, and then alter it back again to what it was originally, even if you did have ways of checking for the data, you wouldn't detect that. But the cheque would have disappeared, and the records will say that the organisation had sent me a cheque and I haven't received it.
Can I move back to the title of your seminar, Data Integrity Attacks? Because at the moment we're talking about typing errors and people deliberately putting in the wrong information because they want to download a white paper. So can we focus on these attacks? Because changing data has been traditionally kind of more difficult than, say, a denial of service of attack or a confidentiality attack.
It's been more difficult to perform those types of attacks if you're totally outside an organisation, but conversely it's been relatively easy to do within an organisation. Understanding the reason why data is modified is quite a challenge. In the financial services industry, there's the 4 eyes principle is often talked about, where you need 2 people to actually do certain updates together. So at least you at worst you have to have 2 people colluding together to do it, to actually misuse the systems. So a single person just doing things themselves can't corrupt the data. But when it comes to altering data, there can be several legitimate reasons for doing it, and also the illegitimate reasons. So correcting an address, as the example I gave a couple of minutes ago, it could be absolutely legitimate. Perhaps someone has really changed the address, perhaps there's a typographic thing in the address, but being able to distinguish between that type of situation and the ones where the address has been maliciously altered is very difficult for computer systems. You tend to need to have a real human in there to see that these changes are valid, and that costs money. So we end up with the economic issues. How much is it costing to have bad integrity of data?